Welcome to the 1000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 969th night, she pursued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the jeweler said to his wife, Have patience. The owner of it's generous, and I will seek to buy it of him. Or if he will sell it, I will bring it to thee. Or if he have another such stone, I will buy it and fashion it for thee into a ring like this. On this wise it fared with the jeweler and his wife. But as regards Kamar Al-Zaman, he passed the night in his lodging, and on the morrow he took 100 dinars, and carried them to the old woman, the barber's wife, saying to her, Accept these gold pieces. And she replied, Give them to thy father. So he gave them to the barber, and she asked, How hast thou done as I bade thee? And he answered, Yes. And she said, Go now to the sheikh the jeweler, and if he give thee the ring, put it on the tip of thy finger, and pull it off in haste, and say to him, O master, thou hast made a mistake. The ring is too tight. And he will say, O merchant, shall I break it and mold it again larger? And do thou say, It booteth not to break it and fashion it anew. Take it and give it to one of thy slave women. Then he pull out another stone worth 700 dinars, and say to him, Take this stone and set it for me, for 'tis handsomer than the other. Give him 30 dinars, and to each of the apprentices say, saying, These gold pieces are for the chasing, and the price of the ring shall remain. Then return to thy lodging for the night, and on the morrow bring me 200 ducats, and I will complete thee the rest of the device. So the youth went to the jeweler, who welcomed him and made him sit down in his shop, and he asked him, How thou hast done? What is thy need? Yes, answered Obiad, and brought out to him the seal ring. Whereupon he set it on his fingertip, and pulling it off in haste, cried, Thou hast made a mistake, O master, and threw it at him, saying, 'Tis too straight for my finger. Asked the jeweler, O merchant, shall I make it larger? But he answered, Not so. Take it as a gift, and give it to one of thy slave girls. It's worth as trifling, some 500 dinars, so it booteth not to fashion it over again. Then he brought him out another stone, worth 700 sequins, and he said to him, Set this one for me, 'tis a finer gem. Moreover, he gave him 30 dinars, and to each of his workmen 2. Quoth Obiad, O my lord, we will take the price of the ring when we have made it. But Kamar Al-Zaman said, This is for the chasing, and the price of the ring remains over. So saying, he went away home, leaving the jeweler and his men amazed at the excess of his generosity. Presently the jeweler returned to his wife and said, O Halima, never did I set eyes on a more generous than this young man. And as for thee, thy luck is good, for he hath given me the ring without price, saying, Give it to one of thy slave women. And he told her what had passed, adding, Methinks this youth is none of the sons of the merchants, but that he is the sons of the kings and sultans. Now the more he praised him, the more she waxed in love-longing, passion, and distraction for him. So she took the ring and put it on her finger, whilst the jeweler made another one, a little larger than the first. When he had finished molding it, she put it on her finger under the first, and said, Look, O my lord, how well the 2 wings show on my finger. I wish they were both mine. Said he, Patience. It may be I shall buy thee this second one. Then he lay that night, and on the morrow he took the ring and went to his shop. As for Kamar Al-Zaman, as soon as it was day, he repaired to the barber's wife, and gave her 200 dinars. Quoth she, Go to the jeweler, and when he giveth thee the ring, put it on thy finger, and pull it off again in haste, saying, Thou hast made a mistake, O master. This ring is too large. A master like thee, with the like of me, cometh to him with a piece of work, it behoveth him to take right measurement. And if thou hast measured my finger, thou hast not erred. Then pull out another stone worth 1,000 dinars, and say to him, Take this, and set it, and give this ring to one of thy slave women. Give him 40 ducats, and to each of his journeymen 3, saying, This is for the chasing, and for the cost of the ring that shall remain, and see what he will say. Then bring 300 dinars, and give them to thy father the barber, that he may mend his fortune withal, for he is a poor man. Answered Kamar Al-Zaman, I hear and obey, and betook himself to the jeweler, who welcomed him, and making him sit down, gave him the ring. He took it and put it on his finger, and then pulled it off in haste, and said, It behoveth a master like thee, with the like of me, bringeth him a piece of work, to take his measure. Hast thou measured my finger, thou hast not erred. and take it and give it to one of thy slave girls. Then he brought him out another stone, worth 1,000 sequins, and said to him, Take this, and set it in a signet ring for me after the measure of my finger. Quoth Obiad, Thou hast spoken sooth, and art in the right, and took his measure, whereupon he pulled out 40 gold pieces, and gave them to him, saying, Take these for the chasing, and the price of the ring shall remain. Cried the jeweler, O my lord, how much higher have we taken of thee? Verily thy bounty to us is great. No harm, replied Kamar Al-Zaman, and sat talking with him a while, and giving a dinar to every beggar who passed by the shop. Then he left and went away, whilst the jeweler returned home, and said to his wife, How generous is this young merchant! Never did I set eyes on a more open-handed or a comelier than he, nor a sweeter of speech. And he went on to recount to her his charms and generosity, and was loud in his praise. Cried she, O thou lack tact, since thou notice these qualities in him, and indeed he hath given thee 2 seal rings of price. It behoveth thee to invite him, and make him an entertainment, and entreat him lovingly. When he seeth that thou affectest him, and cometh to our place, we shall surely get good of him. And if thou grudge him the banquet, do thou bid him, and I will entertain him of my monies. Quoth he, Dost thou know me to be niggardly, that thou sayest this? Say. And quoth she, Thou art no niggard, but thou lackest tact. Invite him this very night, and come not without him. And he refused, conjure him by the divorce oath, and be persistent with him. On my head and eyes, answered he, and moulded the ring till he had finished it, after which he passed the night, and went forth on the morrow to his shop, and sat there. On this wise it was with him. But as for Kamar Al-Zaman, he took 300 dinars, and carried them to the old wife, gave them to her for the barber, her husband. Said she, Most like he will invite thee to his house this day. And if he do this, and thou pass the night there, tell me in the morning what befalleth thee, and bring with thee 400 dinars, and give them to thy father. Answered he, hearing and obeying. And as often as he ran out of money, he would sell some of his stones. So he repaired to the jeweler, who rose to him, and received him with open arms, greeted him heartily, and clapped upon companionship with him. Then he gave him the ring, and he found it after the measure of his finger, and said to the jeweler, Allah bless thee, O prince of artists. The setting is comfortable, but the stone is not to my liking. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 970th night, she resumed, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Kamar Al-Zaman said to the jeweler, The setting is comfortable to my wishes, but the stone, it is not to my liking. I have a handsomer one than this, so take the seal ring and give it to one of thy slave women. Then he gave him a 4th stone and 100 dinars, saying, Take thy hire, and excuse the trouble we have given thee. Obiad replied, O merchant, all the trouble thou hast given us, thou hast requited us, and hast overwhelmed us with thy bounties. And indeed, my heart is taken with love of thee, and I cannot brook parting from thee. So Allah upon thee, be thou my guest this night, and heal my heart. He rejoined, So be it, but needs must I go to my khan, that I may give a charge to my domestics, and tell them that I shall sleep abroad tonight, so they may not expect me. Where dost thou lodge? Asked the jeweler, and he answered, In such a khan. Quoth Obiad, I will come for thee there. And quoth the other, 'Tis well. So the jeweler repaired to the khan before sundown, fearing lest his wife should be angered with him, if he returned home without his guest, and carrying Kamar Al-Zaman to his house, seated him in a saloon that is not its match. Halimah saw him as he entered, and was ravished with him. They talked till supper was served, when they ate and drank, and after which appeared coffee and sherbets, and the jeweler ceased not to entertain him, and talk with him till eventime, when they prayed the obligatory prayers. Then entered a handmaid with 2 cups of night drink, which when they had drunk, drowsiness overcame them, and they slept. Presently in came the jeweler's wife, and seeing them asleep, looked upon Kamar Al-Zaman's face, and her wit was confounded with his beauty. Said she, How can he sleep who loveth the fair? And turning him over on his back, sat astraddle upon his breast. Then, in the mania of her passion for him, she rained down kisses on his cheeks till she left a mark upon them, and they became exceeding red, and his cheekbones shone, and she sucked his lips till the blood ran out into her mouth. But with all this, her fire was not quenched, nor her thirst assuaged. She ceased not to kiss and clip him and twine leg with leg, till the forebrow of morn grew white, and the dawn broke forth in light, when she put in his pocket 4 cockerels and went away. Then she sent her maid with something like snuff, which she applied to their nostrils, and they sneezed and awoke, when the slave girl said, "O my lords, prayer is a duty, so rise and pray the dawn prayer." And she brought them basin and ewer. Quoth Kamar Al-Zaman, "O master, 'tis late, and we have overslept ourselves." And quoth the jeweler, "O my friend, verily the air of this room is heavy, for whenever I sleep in it, this happens to me." Rejoined Kamar Al-Zaman, "True," and proceeded to make the wazoo oblation. And when he put the water to his face, his cheeks and lips burned him. Cried he, "Prodigious! If the air of the room be heavy, and we have been drowned in sleep, what aileth my cheeks and lips that they burn me?" And he said to the jeweler, "O master, my cheeks and lips burn me." The other replied, "I guess this cometh of mosquito bites." "Strange," said Kamar Al-Zaman. "Hath this thing happened to thee?" Replied Obiad, "No, but whenever I have by me a guest like this, he complaineth in the morning of mosquito bites, and this happeneth only when he is like thee, beardless. If he be bearded, the mosquitoes sting him not, and naught hindereth them from me but my beard. It seems mosquitoes love not bearded men." Rejoined Kamar Al-Zaman, "True." Then the maid brought them early breakfast, and they broke their fast and went out. Kamar Al-Zaman betook himself to the old woman, who exclaimed, when she saw him, "I see the marks of joyance on thy face. Tell me what thou hast seen." Said he, "I have seen nothing. Only I supped with the housemaster in a saloon, prayed the night prayer, after which we fell asleep, and we woke not till morning." She laughed and said, "What be these marks on thy cheeks and lips?" He answered, "'Twas the mosquitoes of the saloon that did this to me." And she rejoined, "'Tis well. But did the same thing betide the housemaster?" He retorted, "Nay, but he told me that the mosquitoes of that saloon molest not bearded men, but sting those only who have no hair on their face, and that whenever he hath had a guest for one who is beardless, the stranger awaketh complaining of the mosquito bites. Whereas he hath a beard, there befalleth him naught of this." Said she, "Sooth thou speakest, but say me, sawest thou aught save this?" And he answered, "I found 4 cockles in my pocket." Quoth she, "Show them to me." So he gave them to her, and she laughed and said, "Thy mistress laid these in thy pocket." He asked, "How so?" And she answered, "'Tis as if she said to thee in the language of signs, An thou wert in love, thou wouldest not sleep, for a lover sleepeth not. But thou hast not ceased to be a child, and fit for nothing but to play with these cockles. So what drave thee to fall in love with the fair? Now she came to thee by night, and finding thee asleep, scored thy cheeks with her kisses, and left thee this sign. But that will not suffice her of thee, and she will certainly send her husband to invite thee again to-night. So when thou goest home with him, hasten not to fall asleep. And on the morrow bring me 500 dinars, and come and acquaint me with what hath passed, and I will perfect for thee the device." Answered he, "I hear and obey," and went back to the Khan. Thus it befell him, but as regards to the jeweler's wife, she said to her husband, "Is the guest gone?" Answered he, "Yes. But, oh, Halama, the mosquitoes plagued him last night, and scarified his cheeks and lips, and indeed I was abashed before him." She rejoined, "This is the one of the mosquitoes of our saloon, for they love none save the beardless. But do thou invite him again to-night." So he repaired to the Khan where the youth abode, and bidding him, carried him to his house, where they ate and drank and prayed the night prayer in the saloon, after which the slave girl entered and gave each of them a cup of night drink. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 971st night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the slave girl went into the twain, and gave each of them a cup of night drink, and they drank and fell asleep. Presently in came Halima, and said, O good for nothing, how canst thou sleep, and call thyself a lover? A lover sleepeth not. Then she mounted on his breast, and ceased not to come down upon him with kisses and caresses, biting and sucking his lips, so forth till the morning, when she put in his pocket a knife, and sent her handmaid to arouse them. And when the youth awoke, his cheeks were on fire for excess of redness, and his lips like coral for dint of sucking and kissing. Quoth the jeweller, Did the mosquitoes plague thee last night? And quoth the other, Nay, for he now knew the conceit, and left complaining. Then he felt the knife in his pocket, and was silent. But when he had broken his fast and drunk coffee, he left the jeweller, and going to the khan, took the 500 dinars of gold, and carried them to the old woman, to whom he related what had passed, saying, I slept despite myself, and when I awoke at dawn, I found nothing but a knife in my pocket. Exclaimed the old trot, May Allah protect thee from her this next night. For she saith to thee by this sign, An thou sleep again, I will cut thy throat. Thou wilt once more be bidden to spend the night at the jeweller's house, and if thou sleep, she will slay thee. Said he, What is to be done? And she said, Tell me what thou atest and drankest before sleeping. Quoth he, We supped as was wont, and prayed the night prayer. After which there came to us a maid, who gave each of us a drink of night drink, which when I had drunk, I fell asleep, and I woke not till the morning. Quoth the old woman, The mischief is in the cup. So when the maid give it to thee, take it from her, but drink not, and wait till the master of the house, having drunken and fallen asleep, then say to her, Give me a draught of water, and she will go to fetch thee the gugglet. Then do thou empty the cup behind the pillow, and lay down and feign sleep. So when she cometh back with the gugglet, she will deem that thou hast fallen asleep, after having drunk of the cup, and will leave thee, and presently the case will appear to thee, but beware of disobeying my bidding. Answered he, I hear and I obey. And he returned to the khan. Meanwhile the jeweller's wife said to her husband, A guest's due honor is 3 nights' entertainment. Do thou invite him a 3rd time. Whereupon I took himself to the youth, and inviting him, carrying him home, and sat down with him in the saloon. When they had supped and prayed the night prayer, behold, in came the handmaid, and gave each of them a cup. Her master drank and fell asleep. But Kamar Al-Zaman forbore to drink, whereupon quoth the maid, Wilt thou not drink, O my lord? Answered he, I am athirst. Bring me the gugglet. Accordingly she went to fetch it, and he emptied the cup behind the pillow, and lay down. When the slave girl returned, she saw him lying down, and going to her mistress, saith, He hath drunk off the cup and fallen asleep. Whereupon quoth Halima to herself, Verily his death is better than his life. Then taking a sharp knife, she went into him, saying, 3 times, and thou noticed not the sign, O fool? So now I will rip up thy maw. When he saw her making for him the knife, he opened his eye and rose laughing. Whereupon said she, It was not of thine own wit that thou camest at the meaning of the sign, but by the help of some wily cheat. So tell me whence thou hast this knowledge. From an old woman, replied he, between whom and me befell such and such. And he told her all that had passed. Quoth she, Tomorrow go thou forth from us, and seek her, and say, Hast thou any further devices in store? And if she answer, I have, do thou rejoin, Do thy best, too, that I may enjoy her publicly. But if she say, I have no means of doing that, and this is the last of my devices, put her away from thy thoughts, and tomorrow night my husband will come to thee and invite thee. Do thou come with him, and tell me, and I will consider what remaineth to be done. Answered he, There is no harm in that. Then he spent the rest of the night with her, embracing and clipping, and plying the particle in concert, and joining the conjunction with the conjoined, whilst her husband was a cast-out new nation of construction. And they ceased not to be thus till morning, when she said to him, 'Tis not a night of thee that will content me, nor a day, nor yet a month, nor a year, but it is my intent to abide with thee the rest of my life. Wait, however, till I play my husband a trick, which would baffle the keenest witted, and win for us our wishes. I will cause doubt to enter into him, so that he shall divorce me, whereupon I will marry thee, and go with thee to thine own country. I will also transport all his monies and hoards to thy lodging, and will contrive thee the ruin of his dwelling place, and the blotting out of his traces. But do thou hearken to my speech, and obey me in that I shall say to thee, and gainsay me not. He replied, I hear, and I obey. In me there is none opposition. Then she said, Go to the Khan, and when my husband cometh to thee and inviteth thee to say to him, O my brother, a son of Adam is apt to be burdensome when his visits grow over frequent. Both generous and niggard loathe him. How then shall I go with thee every night, and lie I and thee on the saloon? And thou wax not chagrined with me, thy harem will bear me grudge for that I hindered thee from thine. Therefore, if thou have a mind to my company, take me a house beside thine own, and we will abide thus. Now I sitting with thee till the time of sleep, and now with me thou. Then I will go to my place, and thou to thy harem, and this will be a better rede than that I hinder thee from thy harem every night. Then will he come to me and take counsel with me, and I will advise him to turn out our neighbor, for the house wherein he liveth is our house, and he renteth to us. And once thou art in the house, Allah will make easy to us the rest of our scheme. And presently she added, Go now, and do as I bid thee. Answered he, I hear, and I obey. Whereupon she left him and went away, whilst he lay down and feigned to be asleep. Presently the handmaid came and aroused them, and when the jeweler awoke, he said to his guest, O merchant, have the mosquitoes worried thee? He replied, No. And Obiad said, Belike thou art grown used to them. Then they broke their fast, and drank coffee, after which they fared forth to their affairs, and Kamar Al-Zaman betook himself to the old crone, and related to her what had passed. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 972nd night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Kamar Al-Zaman betook himself to the old crone, he related to her what had passed, saying, She spake to me this and that, and I answered her thus and thus. Now say me, hast thou any further device for bringing me to enjoy her publicly? Quoth she, O my son, here endeth my contrivance, and now I am at the term of my devices. Upon this he left her, and returned to the Khan, where, as eventide even, the jeweler came to him and invited him. He said, I cannot go with thee. Asked the merchant, Why so? I love thee, and I cannot brook separation from thee. Allah upon thee, come with me. The other replied, An it be thy wish to continue our comradeship, and keep up the friendship betwixt thee and me, take me a house by the side of thine own, and when thou wilt, thou shalt pass the evening with me, and I with thee. But as soon as the time of sleep cometh, each of us shall hie to his own home and lie there. Quoth Obiard, I have a house adjoining mine, which is mine own property. So go thou with me tonight, and tomorrow I will have the house untenanted for thee. Accordingly he went with him, and they supped and prayed, and the night prayer, and after which the jeweler drank the cup of drugged liquor, and fell asleep. But in Kamar Al-Zaman's cup there was no trick. So he drank it and slept not. Then came the jeweler's wife, and sat chatting with him through the dark hours, whilst her husband lay like a corpse. When he woke in the morning as of wont, he sent for his tenant, and said to him, O man, quit me the house, for I have need of it. On my head and eyes, answered the other, and voided the house to him. Whereupon Kamar Al-Zaman took up his abode therein, and transported thither all his baggage. The jeweler passed the evening with him, then went to his own house. On the next day his wife sent for the cunning builder, and bribed him with money to make her an underground way from her chamber to Kamar Al-Zaman's house, with a trap door under the earth. So before the youth was ware, she came into him with 2 bags of money, and he said to her, Whence comest thou? She showed him the tunnel, and said to him, Take these 2 bags of his money. Then she sat with him, the twain, toying and tumbling together till the morning, when she said, Wait for me, till I go to him, and wake him, so he may go to his shop, and I return to thee. I sat expecting her whilst she went away, and awoke her husband, who made the wazoo ablutions, and prayed, and went to his shop. As soon as he was gone, she took 4 bags, and carrying them through the souterrain to Kamar Al-Zaman, said to him, Store these up. Then she sat down with him after a while, which she retired to her home, and he betook himself to the bazaar. When he returned at sundown, he found in his house 10 purses and jewels, and much more besides. Presently the jeweler came to him, and carried him to his house, where they passed the evening in the saloon, till the handmaid came in according to custom, and brought him the drink. Her master drank and fell asleep, whilst naught betided Kamar Al-Zaman, for that his cup was wholesome, and there was no trick therein. Then came Halima, who sat down a-toying with him, whilst the slave-girl transported the jeweller's goods to Kamar Al-Zaman's house by a secret passage. Thus they did till morning, when the handmaid awoke her lord, and gave him to drink coffee, after which they went each their own way. On the third day the wife brought out to him a knife of her husband's, which he had chased and wrought with his own hand, and which he priced at 500 dinars. But there was no knife like it, and because of the eagerness with which folk sought of him, he had laid it upon a chest, and could not bring himself to sell it to any one in creation. Quoth she, "Take this knife, and set it in thy waist shawl, and go to my husband and sit with him. Then pull out the knife and say to him, 'O master, look at this knife I bought today, and tell me if I have the worst or the best of the bargain.' He will know it, but will be ashamed to say thee, 'This is my knife.' So he will ask thee, 'Whence didst thou buy it, and how much?' And do thou make answer, 'I saw 2 Levantines disputing with one, and said to the other, Where hast thou been?' Quoth his companion, 'I have been with my mistress, and whenever I foregather with her, she giveth me 10 dirhams. But this day she said to me, My hand is empty of silver for thee today, but take this knife of my husband's.' So I took it, and intend to sell it. The knife pleaseth me, and hearing his tale, I said to him, 'Wilt thou sell it to me?' When he replied, 'Buy.' So I got it of him for 300 gold pieces, and I wondered whether it was cheap or dear. And note while he would say to thee, Then talk with him a while, and rise and come back to me in haste. Thou wilt find me awaiting thee at the tunnel mouth, and do thou give me the knife." Replied Kamar Al-Zaman, "I hear and I obey," and taking the knife set it in his waist shawl. Then he went to the shop of the jeweller, who saluted him with the salam, and welcomed him and made him sit down. He spied the knife in his waist shawl, at which he wondered, and said to himself, "That is my knife. Who can have conveyed it to this merchant?" And he fell a musing and saying in his mind, "I wonder an it be my knife, or knife like it." Presently Kamar Al-Zaman pulled it out and said to him, "Hark ye, master, take this knife and look at it." Obiad took it and knew it right away, but was ashamed to say, "This is my knife." And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale till it be morrow.